Hey, hey, hey. We are back with another episode of Parenting is Ghetto. First, I want to start off by saying thank you to those who've already liked, subscribed, shared, and commented. Thank you for all the positive feedback and even some of the things that can do a little critiquing as I continue to go on this journey and take you guys with me. I'm always open to feedback. Um, I'm also happy and thankful for those who, kind of appreciated the realistic part of it, the reality, the bloopers, the, special ring light. Because for me, I've been trying to figure out how to perfect this thing and realizing and understanding that it's nothing perfect about it. You're going to get what you're going to get, the real, raw, unedited version, unless, something real weird or odd goes wrong. So, thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you to all of my supporters. Thank you to everybody who has been there and will join the ghetto community. With that being said, today's topic is going to be gentle parenting that's not so gentle. Gentle parenting in this ungentle generation. As I've stated before, and for those of you who know, with the 3 kids that I have, it wasn't until after a couple years ago, I'll say, when I realized that trying to take this gentle approach that we see in the books or that we see other people trying, baby, it just don't work for all these kids. Sometimes you gotta put a little bass in your voice. Sometimes you gotta yell. Sometimes you might even have to threaten with a belt. And understanding and knowing that as the parents in the ghetto community, it's okay. One thing that I had to learn was to not beat myself up about it once I did it, because that was a thing for me. Mom guilt set in a lot, and it's like, I'm trying to do the best that I can. I am trying to create a better path, a better future, a better plan for my kids, but sometimes y'all really just take me there. And with Caden, for sure, I'm heavy. I'm heavy on apologizing or sitting down having those uncomfortable conversations with all of them. But because Caden is older, she's more aware and more understanding and knowing. Sometimes we have to do these things in order for y'all to understand, because y'all act like y'all don't get it. I don't care how many times I talk to y'all in this calm voice and say, stop doing that, go sit down, please go do this, please don't do that. It takes for me to kind of buck up at y'all a little bit. Like, that seems to be the only way that y'all get it. And I don't want to be that parent, but sometimes that's just the reality, and that's just what it is. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad parent, because my motto is, every day that I get up, I know that I try to be the best version for not just for myself, but for my kids. And sometimes y'all just take us there. One thing that I have learned and I have acknowledged and I've been trying is, what am I doing or what space am I in before it gets to that level? Now, I'm not going to say just yelling or, threatening or whatever it is that you choose to do in that moment is always necessary or is always right. But I'm also big on letting my kids know, hey, now is not the time. Mommy just don't feel like it right now. And that's okay. Getting them to understand, as long as they're safe, as long as it's not a life or death situation, allow me that time to gather myself, to get myself. It could be after a long day of work. For me, it could be work and school, or not just for me, but for anybody. It can be trying to juggle work and school and just everyday life, because although we talk about parenting being ghetto, let's be real. Life. Life has been ghetto. Lives. Things happen. Car problems, issues at work, issues with people in your circle or family or anything. Like, it can take a toll on us. So I want to encourage us parents to be okay with taking that step back and acknowledging when we need a break and being able to openly express that, because sometimes it's needed. Um, and that's just like a little snippet of that. But for me, some things that I do also try before resulting to that last resort of yelling and, threatening for a whooping, or just all of the other harsh, and I say harsh in quotations because that's just what it's portrayed to be. Having those conversations, like I said, having those uncomfortable conversations. And one thing I've learned, and one thing I continue to realize in this parenting journey is, I'll say for me and anybody who can relate, we wasn't always taught that. We wasn't always taught that it's okay. But I realized that it not only makes gentle parenting easier, it sets those boundaries and it sets those standards to our babies that these things are still okay. I'm always reminded, and I laugh every time. There was a situation where I'll probably use Kaden more than I use the other two, but it's okay. Knowing when she's frustrated, and instead of me constantly asking what's wrong and you're telling me nothing, I break that cycle, and you saying nothing is wrong when I can clearly see that something is wrong. You clearly know that something is wrong. The gentle part of me is like, Kaden, I would appreciate more if you just told me, hey, I don't want to talk about it right now. And that's fine. I had to kind of explain it to my mom in a certain scenario because, of course, and again, not knocking our parents, those who did the best that they could with us, because it's a learning experience, and every day is, you learn more. But explaining to her, like, as long as they didn't say it in a disrespectful way. Kaden has told me before in front of people, like, Ma, I just don't want to talk about it right now. At first, granted, I was the one that told her that it was okay. At first, I was like, nah, bro, I ain't taking that. But then I had to really and I didn't say that verbally, but that's just how I felt at that moment. I had to take a step back and realize, like, it's okay to not be in control all the time. Our kids know us well enough to know, from being born all the way up until whatever age that they are, who's in control as the parent when we're in control. But truthfully speaking, we can't be in control of their emotions and how they feel. So it's just establishing those healthy boundaries as well. To say that, hey, I don't feel like talking about it right now, because let's be real, even as adults at our big age, if something ain't going our way, we are comfortable enough to say, hey, I don't want to talk about it right now. And it comes off better as an adult when in reality it's not. For me with parenting, sometimes I try to put myself in the situation or in the shoes of the kid as an adult. And I'm like, well, how will I manage it? How will I want to do it? And if expressing myself is what it is in so many words, then that's just going to be what it is. It's just different coming from the kid. But I also teach her and the other ones in that same situation of where it's all about a respect thing. Now, she can't come up to me and be like, I don't want to talk about it right now with it, because now, hold on, we're going to go back to the drawing board and we're going to figure this out all over again, because who are you talking to? But that's when the gentle side has to come in and take place and just be like, Kaden, you right. You are entitled. And I'm going to just go ahead and let you go on about your business. And then when things are fine, when things start to smooth over and she's ready to come and talk, we'll bring that up too. Like, I understand how you feel, but this ain't how we gonna do this. Because honestly, kids receive information better when they're at a level head and you're at a level head. Because when they're mad or frustrated or whatever, because let's be honest, they are entitled to be. They're humans just like we are. The only difference is the age. So when they're at a heightened state and you're at a heightened state and everybody is just clashing and going back and forth, what really are we establishing? What really are we learning from? What boundaries are we keeping safe? And what are they taking away from it? Because in reality, they're not taking anything away from it. So once we learn and be okay with separating power and control from each other, and understanding that they are still little humans who still learning to maneuver through life, who still learning healthy boundaries themselves, who still deals with all of the things that they have to deal with at school. Because in today's society, I know I'll say for me, I don't know how I would survive as a 10-year-old in today's society, because at my big age, it's still a struggle. So just taking those things into consideration and into account that they are entitled to those things as well. Second point I would say is what type of positive reinforcements can we put into place? Um, a quiet corner. If you don't feel comfortable enough to accept that your child is able to say these things, these words, put a pick a designated spot in the house. And just when you see that they're there in that corner, in that space, or whatever it is, you just know that, hey, now is not the time. It's still not disrespectful. For me, we have started in the past a journal where I bought a notebook. We each have our own pens, and if it's something that's written in there that she wants to talk about or don't want to talk about, it to me, not I won't say don't want to talk about, but wants to talk about, but afraid or don't know how I would respond, I tell her, write it in the notebook, set it on the table, and I'll ask you, or you put it in there, I want you to respond verbally, or just write it back out, and then we pass notes that way. Now, I'm not going to sit up and say that that's the only way to resolve things, because if it's something really serious, I will call her to the forefront. But again, as a parent, we got to remember to stay at a level head. I'll say for me, I think that was hard because, again, I was a person that felt like I'm in control, is my way or no way. But when I sit back and I think about some of the things that I get in response of how Kaden responds or how she behaves, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But you just got to take it, go with the flow, find a happy medium and compromise, and then figure out what do we do next to keep this thing going. So thinking about some different positive reinforcements. For me, I'm big on incentives for all three of them, but that works better with Jacoby, the middle boy, because realistically speaking, after a long day of work, picking them up, coming home yelling and all that other stuff, like that's not what I always want to do either. So we'll, go off of what the day is like. And if you've had X amount of good days, the incentive would be, oh, we'll get ice cream, or you can go pick out a toy, because everybody who knows my boy know Sonic is his thing right now. So we go that route, and I'm not saying that that has to be an everyday thing. We have levels to it. If you go three days of good behavior at school, that's when the ice cream come in place. If you go about a good 10 to 15 days good at school, that's when you get to go to the store and pick out whatever you want. But for him, there may be some days in between where it's like, on day 5 I messed up. We don't start all the way over. No, we don't start all the way over, because then I feel like that makes it like an unrealistic thing. We'll skip a day. So day 6, that doesn't count. But then for day 7, that'll continue on for day 6, and just kind of going with that. I'll always say you got to find and do what's right for you and your house and your children, because again, not every kid is the same. That last one, that no limit soldier that I got, I don't think incentives gonna work for her, and she will be the one that I'm not gonna say that I will, because sometimes I have had to, where she don't listen. Jada is Jada, and she gonna do what she want to do, and baby, she the one that's gonna test my gangster for sure. And not gonna lie, sometimes I do have to be like, oh, I'll pop you, or I'll do this, and she'll run and do it. Or for us, it's the counting. If I get to 5, it's a wrap. And Jada is that kid who lets me get to 4, and then she take off and do it. And it's like, why do it even got to be like this? But it's still, like I said, establishing those boundaries and creating that safe space to know mama not gonna play, but now also trying to teach her that it shouldn't take for me to get to that either. Just go do it, bro. Like, why is kids so crazy? Anyway, so what I say, positive reinforcements, incentives, and just taking the control out of the things and knowing that it's okay to set those healthy boundaries. Don't get me wrong, every day ain't gonna be good. Every day ain't gonna be unicorns and rainbows. Some days you might have to go back to the drawing board and be like, what am I doing here? This is not working. What should I do? Where should I go? I don't want to be this parent. And these are all things that I've always said to myself. And some days I wake up and I'm like, bro, this thing today really it did, truthfully. But every day I get up and try to do the next thing. I mean, try to take on the next day with a different mindset, a different attitude. And just go on from there. So again, As I always say, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up, comment, like, subscribe, share. My inbox is open. If you have my number, I'm always open to, offering any type of advice that I have via text message. If you don't have my number and you want it, baby, just ask for it because I'll give it to you. Not gonna lie, probably not the best at responding right away, but you'll get a response for sure. So, like I said, like, subscribe, share, comment, and let's take on this parenting thing together because you don't have to do it by yourself. And know that gentle parenting is okay. It's okay to, put a little fear in them, but every day you wake up, you show up, love your babies. Let them know that you love them. When we go to bed at night, it's love. When we wake up in the morning, it's love. And we gonna knock this thing out together. Until next time, thank you for tuning in, my ghetto community. I'm out.